Welcome to the series CyberSec, A Way of Life, brought to you by LnDToday and powered by Archon Tech Solutions. Please welcome Sudhir Kalyanikar, Head IT, Vendor and Contracts Management. He comes with over 2 decades of experience in the IT domain. Thank you, Sudhir, for joining us today.
My pleasure, all my pleasure.
Great. So, more than 2 decades of experience.
Yeah, about
in the
it
IT
would
domain.
be 23rd, 24th year running.
Exactly. So, a long time.
It has been.
Do you remember the very first day of your work?
I do actually. It was very interesting because what happened was I had just completed my masters, and I had some plans. I was looking to either do my MBA or my PhD. These were the two options that I had.
So you had PhD as an option right at the start of your career?
Yeah, I did.
That's
so
impressive.
I wanted to check if that's what I want to do. So I was just mentioning this to the head of my department at Wilson College, and he was like, okay, since you are going to be studying for a year, I decided to take a break. He says, why don't you come over? We have a leave vacancy. One of our lecturers is going on medical leave. So would you like to come in and stand in as a lecturer? And I said, great, why not? The funny part is, he said, okay, come and meet me tomorrow. And I went there with the intention of just understanding what I was supposed to do, etc.
Right.
And he said, okay, welcome on board. And I said, thank you, sir. When do I start? And he said, right away. So that was a little unnerving for me because I had not taken, I'd given seminars, debates and stuff like that, but I had not given a lecture. But thankfully what happened is that day was a practical session. It was a laboratory session. So I was put up with another very senior professor of mine. I remember I walked up to the table, and there's practicals are held in a huge lab. There are tables, and before we start, we give a set of instructions. So you had all the students sitting in on stools just opposite. I went there and I had no clue what to say. But yeah, we started and I somehow coped with it. So that was my first day at work. Very happening kind of a day for me.
Very memorable, I would
It is very memorable because I didn't know I was starting. Honestly, that was the first jolt for me. That he said, you start right away. That was a little bit of a... Yeah. But it was good fun.
I'm
Very
sure.
good fun.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
a good experience right off.
It is.
Starting off.
Yeah.
Right. So now, here's the interesting thing. Your career has been in the IT domain,
Yes.
largely.
Yes.
But you've done your bachelor's and master's in microbiology.
That's right.
And can you explain this? As in, a microbiologist coming into IT is a big...
So there is no grand plan or anything like that behind it. It was a series of accidents, as I like to call it. It was more like I said, after I finished my master's, I started out as a lecturer, which was a purely a stopgap arrangement. I did my... I did that 1 year. I got into MBA. I also had an option to pursue a PhD abroad. I was also offered a job. I also got a job with a pharma company. And the person that I was supposed to report to, my hiring manager, he was the head of R&D. I was just talking to him once, and in his opinion, he said, don't take up this job right now. Even though they had selected me, he said, don't take it up. What you can do is you should do an MBA, because he thought I would be more of an asset at a corporate level rather than focusing myself into R&D with respect to microbiology. He saw something and he just said that this is my serious advice. I went home, talked it over with my dad, a couple of other people, and they thought it was a great idea. So then I said, okay, fine, this makes sense to me. So I did my MBA, and out of campus I was placed again in a pharma company. But IBM at that time was just into India. This was in 1998, 97, 98. They had just entered India. They had entered as Tata IBM. And they had this internship program called Team Blue. So they had, I think, 4 years of this internship program. So we were the second batch. What happened was they conducted this huge entrance test across India. Then we had group discussions, a couple of rounds of interviews, and 22 of us were chosen across India, and we went through this 3-month internship program, and then we got absorbed into IBM. So that was the beginning of how I entered into IT, and after that it's been IT all throughout. So like I said, no grand plan, just a series of accidents. That's chance happenings.
Now, talking about IBM, of course you got enrolled into that course that you spoke of. How was your experience how was your journey at IBM
So
at that
it
time.
was and still continues to be one of the leading IT companies in the world, right? So even now, it's a company which is a highly respected company.
Absolutely.
People like to work for that
It's
company.
very aspirational for people to work
Correct.
there.
So for me to start my career with that kind of an organization was a big high. Definitely a big high. So, and I also feel that that experience somehow helped me get jobs further down the line as
In
well.
fact, my next question is, you then went on to HP.
Yeah, ultimately I jumped to HP.
Yeah,
Correct.
and you were handling the P&L for the IT infrastructure,
Right.
and you grew the business 5 times
Correct,
over there
correct.
With a run rate of $20 million a year. That was a huge task. Tell us a little about that.
So HP was my longest stint in any organization. I spent more than 8 years at HP. Yeah, infrastructure management at that time was a high. So we were a team of us actually working with a country manager. We were managing different parts of the portfolio. My portfolio had to do with the support, infrastructure support, critical infrastructure support. So yeah, it was a good time. Of course, we had to work very hard, but we were backed up with an excellent sales team. So that's why we could just go and get a lot of
commendable.
market share. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Now, how then? Of course, at NSE IT.
Right.
How
HP.
critical was your role here?
Extremely critical. My role, maybe not so much, because I was a manager at a level from where I was expected to look after things. My team actually had to do a lot of. In fact, there were 3 teams reporting to me, and between them, they were managing pretty much the entire infrastructure for the exchange. Right? Though I was not directly involved. I mean, I did not even have access to go to the data center because my team was managing that. That is where they cut off that access. But yeah, as a manager, I saw them handle it. And an exchange is so critical that a few seconds late in getting the exchange up leads to like several thousands crores worth of loss. So yeah, extremely critical. I mean, no doubt about it.
Right. I mean, it's very interesting. I think the SLAs are somewhere in microseconds.
Correct. Correct. In fact, from a people perspective, people might lose their job if they make one mistake in the standard operating procedure. It has happened, and it's happened to me. You get a call saying that this is a person, he's made a mess. It's not the first time. Please replace. Within the next 24 hours, you need to replace that person.
Wow.
Yeah, it is critical, and I don't blame them because that's how critical it is for
it's too much at stake.
There is too much at stake. So people are trained, they are told to follow a certain set of operational procedures. If they don't do that, they don't have any excuse.
True. Now, currently at UltraTech, can you tell us a little about your role, what you do, what you handle?
So what I do is we have a set of portfolios. The portfolio that I handle is called vendor and contracts management. So basically maintaining vendor relationships through the vendor life cycle. So starting from identifying new vendors, what they bring to the table, then onboarding them if we select them for a project, then onboarding those vendors in our system. So there's a lot of processes that we need to follow. Making sure that they get all their documentation on time, like purchase orders, agreements are signed off on time. And after they do the work, their invoices are paid on time. So basically the entire life cycle. So that's what my team handles on a regular basis.
Interesting. And I think you're just simplifying it for them.
We are trying to make it as simple as possible, as much as a checklist based as possible, because that makes life easy for everybody. So yeah, that's what we are doing. Plus contracts also, we need to work with our legal team, but we are the repository of the contracts. So we maintain, manage them. We are supposed to know when they get over, how do we need to extend them and so on.
Right, absolutely. Now, apart from this, you're also a lot into teaching.
I am.
Where does that come from?
So I think somewhere it's a hangover of my first job, which was a lecturer.
I wanted to connect that.
I also was taking lectures off and on. I used to be more like a guest faculty at 2 or 3 places. And even within my corporate journey, I have been trying to get into training as much as possible. So with respect to my own portfolio, with respect to my area of expertise, we would go and train our distributors, our dealers about that. So that was always happening. So I was always into that. Somewhere that, giving gyan is a part of my DNA. I have, I don't know whether it's useful or no, but I'm assuming it's useful. So teaching happened to me. At this point of time, I'm a visiting faculty at Willingker Institute. So I take courses in marketing, but because I have the expertise of technology and marketing. Try to marry them both and get into courses which teach people about technology marketing or technologies that can be used in marketing, emergent technology, stuff like that.
True, true. I think it's a wonderful combination.
Yeah.
True.
So,
Right. Now, apart from that, I also noticed you're a fountain pen enthusiast.
I am.
How has that happened? I think there's also a group that you're a part
Oh,
of.
yeah. We have this Fountain Pen Association of India,
Right.
of which I am one of the co-founders. So, yeah, it has been, again, this has been with me for a long time.
So, what is the obsession behind the fountain?
I just like them. I don't know what is the obsession. I mean, I've never been able to define them. But since I was a kid, I've always liked using fountain
Do you
pens.
still use the fountain pens?
I have at least 3 or 4 in my bag at any point of time. I use them regularly, and as far as possible, that's what I use. But it also depends on the paper that you have access to. Sometimes the paper is not good enough for them, so you have to use a ballpoint or something.
True, true.
So
I think pens and fountain pens are fading out anyways.
You're right. We really want to make a difference and try and get more people to use them. That's one of the reasons we founded this association, because we would like people to come back to using them. Of course, we can't expect everyone to come back. Like, it's been a challenge even in my own family. Right? So I don't know, but there are people who are born with this kind of an interest, and when they reach out, we try our level best to help and
Absolutely.
create the awareness.
In fact, I think the concept of writing is becoming alienated because you're so much on your systems, your laptops, and everything.
Yes.
I mean, you'd first make notes on papers about your work and everything. I think even that is got automated and
Yes. I think I'm one of the few people who still makes notes on paper, and I like doing it because what I feel is, when you write something, there's some connection, and then it sticks in your brain much more than if you just read it or if you talk about it. That's my experience.
Well, best of luck.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much for sharing about your professional journey.
Yeah, sure.